Good afternoon. Thank you so much for stopping by Black Shadows. Today on this channel, we're going to be discussing corporate America's aversion towards Black women. And will that ever end, actually? I'm a Black female, and my name is Black. I've worked in corporate America for a number of years. And the things that I have seen and experienced, I never would have thought in my lifetime. And once I started to get to my late 40s, I had heard that, this is when you normally have to reach out to EEO, because this is when normally you start to experience microaggressive or maniacal undermining behavior. And I'm a person that relatively gets along with everyone. And that first experience to me, I was almost just stumped as to think, okay, maybe this is a one-off. Maybe this person just doesn't like me, or, because sometimes not every personality is going to get along when it comes down to performing your job. You are there to do the job and get paid. And this is how I look at that. However, over the past decade or so, every Black woman that is in my corner, that we support one another, we started to share stories about what we have been met with and what it has done to us psychologically. The cost of working in corporate America, the overt, discriminatory actions, the gaslighting, antagonistic behaviors. And in my culture, we've been taught to kind of let things go. We don't want to make any waves in the workplace, right? This is what we've been taught. Let's not make waves. We're the problem if we raise concerns. And equivalent to that of Mr. George Floyd, may he rest in peace, this is when you could actually see, get your foot off my neck. You're killing me. You are suffocating me. And then only at that time have some of us been able to take that opportunity to say it out loud in these spaces, in these white spaces, where it's uncomfortable, where we have to assimilate, where we cannot speak openly, where we can't say, okay, this behavior or these actions are a problem. Now, we have to think about this. If Black folks have been handed down a certain mindset as to, not speak up, as we would be seen as the problem, then would that mean that white folks also had inherited certain actions from their parents and their parents before them? So this is why we have to say discrimination does exist. And unfortunately, in the workplace where we're trying to do a job, because a lot of us are the head of our homes, we have bills to pay, we just want to go to work. But we've been met with this menacing behavior, of our white colleagues or white counterparts. And, specifically, I've heard it from white females that we've just discussed. So the ask is, does corporate America have an aversion towards Black women? And I will say yes, because if we do speak up, then again, the stereotype, problematic, bad attitude, and, again, that is only to undermine what your experience is and deflect away from the problem. Statistically speaking, we've seen these company dynamics where there are not enough of us in leadership, although we do possess the skills and the traits to be successful because we've performed there. But after a while, there is a burnout that we're met with. There's a burnout that we're met with, and we get tired of this menacing behavior. And when I've gone through it, I had so many individuals that reached out to me to actually discuss, like, hey, this has happened to me too. We started to compare notes. So this led me to believe we have systemic behavior problems in these Fortune 10, Fortune 50, Fortune 100 Fortune 500 companies. Okay? So what I've come to find is us as Black women, we've continued to be faced with scrutiny, okay, for nominal issues as opposed to that of your white counterparts. We are less likely to be promoted. And I don't care what you do, how you do it, how you assimilate, how you attempt to present yourself as non-threatening. Our knowledge itself has appeared to be problematic. The microaggressiveness. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard, oh, I wish I had more friends like you, or I wish more people that look like you were having your temperament and ease of get along. If I had $80 for that, I would be retired. In corporate America, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility. Your commitment, all of you came out and said that you support DEI initiatives. Where are they? Where are they? You promised them. You continue to say, we're working on them. Wait till they come out. We're waiting. We haven't seen it. It is in name only as an economic prowess. Okay? And when we tend to bring these things to the forefront, we become a target. And the objective at that point is to performance you out. That's the new target. That's the new target. This is how it's done. We're going to just get you out, right? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When this behavior that you're experiencing becomes overt, and that is shown where there has been a collusion in place because you did say you want to hold the organizational accountable for their commitments, you know? And when you call out racism, I mean racism as it is, solely based on what you look like, what you sound like, okay? Your culture. And we all know that diversity, if there is diversity in a place, this is how we get equitable solutions, when we can all come together to make the best decisions. I haven't seen any policies to date that white people only have created, and it has been beneficial to Black folks. Not one today. So if you don't even understand me, or you think you have an understanding of me, you can't possibly make the best decisions for me. It's been shown countless times. When you say racism, corporate America comes in and say, oh, implicit bias, we didn't know. You a lie. Because when I say racism, you know exactly what it is. You immediately silence yourself. Oh, let's go talk about it because we don't want to hear those bad words around here. Okay? So now we're using words such as racial bias. Okay? A bias is a preference or a tendency which can be for or against a person, group, or thing when compared to another. We know Black folks on this planet, we can't assimilate. We cannot straighten our hair enough. We cannot thin out our noses enough. We cannot remove the power in our voice enough without being taken as a threat. Discrimination. Employment discrimination has a various use of categories. But in this episode, we're going to focus on the definition of race. When an employer treats an applicant or employee less favorable merely because of the person's race. I know there have been many times that I've set up programs and opportunities that allows the entire team to excel. And one white person actually stole my work and promoted it. I raised that concern. And they were like, oh, and they know that I did it. What do you want us to do about it? Well, I want you to do the same thing you would have done to me if I stole someone's work and went around promoting it as if it was my own. Stop playing. Racism. It is often understood solely in terms of blatant, overly hostile behaviors and attitudes. It may take form of verbal abuse or physical intimidation. But see, these new millennials are very covert in their actions. Sometimes they can mask it, sometimes they can't. It's very subtle. It's gaslighting. It's undermining. It's sabotaging. Very insidious behavior. And because they're saying, oh, it's on me to prove the racism. That's like asking me to prove there's air. Air is existing because we're breathing it. But can you see it? No. But we know it exists. And so does racism. It's intertwined in the dynamics of capitalism. And not that I'm saying that capitalism is bad. If there's an opportunity for you to generate revenue to create better opportunities for yourself and your family, go ahead and do so. But not at the harm or at the cost of our lives, our emotional, social, economic well-being. Okay? We're not going to do that. We're not going to be quiet about it. And this is where you have to take back your power. Okay? This is where you have to take back your power. I've seen where someone operate openly racist. However, they are met with the support. That is bananas. How in the hell do you do that? How in the hell do you do that? Because I don't understand it. Okay? How are you met with tears and you've said some nasty, ugly words and which I cannot repeat here on YouTube? But I'm going to say it begins with an N and it ends with an R. Seen it. And somehow the victim becomes the adversary. How? I've seen them make fun of black women for losing out on opportunities. And again, when you report it, human resources used to be there to advocate for the laws, to ensure that there is fairness and that we are meeting with our federal guidelines. Now human resources, the henchmen, it's become corporate. Human resources is there only to protect the company. So please be careful of what you share with human resources. Okay? Because again, because they've come corporate, they're not there to protect you. They're to keep the company out of litigation. And it doesn't matter if they have a black person in leadership. That black person is trying to keep their job. And they're trying to follow the cultural ask of protecting the organization. Okay? I know that we've seen a lot of these executives come out and say, oh, we support diversity, equity, inclusion in the wake of George Floyd's death, but yet to act on those things. Okay? My question is, and again, I know that we use the term women of color, and I'm not saying that other races of women don't have problems, because I'm sure that you do. But no experience is like the black experience on this earth, on this planet to date. Okay? All right? And so this is why I'm so focused on that. Because I see so many of us leaving these jobs in roles in tears at the expense of just about dying. I've seen where leaders have discussed, oh, we're going to have a focus group. Well, hell, you've had 8,000 focus groups. How much is it going to take for you to get it right? How long do we need to wait? I'm going to tell you, black women, you are out here working for these companies, these organizations. All the skills and knowledge that you have, do you know that you can take that and start your own business? Because you're keeping these companies afloat. If you know medical billing, as a biller, you can work for yourself. Okay? If you are working with an underserved population, did you know you can set up your own your own organization to serve those and get those same contracts. And to those organizations that are upholding white supremacy in the workplace, ancestors are coming back to reap what they've deserved and what they've earned, okay? And sisters, I'm going to tell you, when one of your sisters is going through something, you support her because there are more strength in numbers, okay? Because at some point in your life, you're going to need that strength too. Now is not the time for us to be divided, because divide and conquer has been used to keep us systematically oppressed this entire time. This is why we're not heading our organizations. And this is why less than 10% of our CEOs are Black women. Okay? You hold her down and support her. And again, come together collaboratively. I saw an article last year maybe about these Black women in corporate America in California, because the EEO was going after a company that was, again, marginalizing, abusing their authority, abusing their power. And they came together as a collective. Racism is based on fear of economic downturn. It's a fear tactic to keep you in your place like the overseer used to. Okay? And now is not the time for you all to live in fear, because you were not created that way. I want you guys to tell me below, have you witnessed, experienced discrimination, racial aggression in the workplace? If so, what did you do? Who did you go to? How did you handle it? Were you supported? Because it's been my experience that we are fearful, again, our economic prowess, and they know that. But what they don't know is you're smart enough to know better. You're smart enough to keep evidence, document that demonic behavior you've experienced, okay? Don't internalize that pain anymore. You get to support of your sisters. You identify who that person is. If you're working with a Karen, a covert Karen, an overt Karen in that workplace, document. You come together and you go to your department head, your human resources as a collective. And if you need to, you go as a collective to your EEOC or your state office to address these behavior, to file a class action. Because it's unfortunate that so many of us live in perpetual fear, and so many of us are still being emotionally subjected to inferiority tactics by the leaders. And the organizations are aware of it, yet they do nothing about it. Okay? One thing that I've always learned is you teach people how to treat you. And if you're not going to let the young lady down the street, up the block, treat you any kind of way, don't accept that in these spaces just for economic gain, because you're not gaining anything. Because if one of us is being attacked, it's only a matter of time before it's your turn, before you're up next. Because this system shows you, once they're done using you, all of the gains from you, they discard you. Okay? All right? Be appreciative and thank God, the Most High, for who you are and who you were created to be. Okay? Do not allow insidious behavior to manifest. You address that immediately. Okay? Also, understand these companies that are publicly traded, understand who their board of directors are. Look those people up and see who they are. These people are making millions and millions of dollars based on your labor, based on your knowledge. And again, they discard you like trash when they're done using you. Okay? So that way you hold them accountable with their state, federal, local governing bodies to ensure you get your just due. Because there's a cost for mistreating people. And now is not the time to live in fear. It's to live in your power. It's to live in your knowledge. is to believe that your experience happened, and don't let anybody gaslight you into thinking otherwise, to thinking it did not happen, it did not exist. Okay? And we're going to talk about some of these companies. We're going to put some of these companies on blast for their disparaging actions internally, because they will sit out on a platform and talk about George Floyd. It's an insult to us and to him and his family and all of those other ancestors that have died economically disenfranchised because somebody mistreated them and did them wrong, or they didn't do right. To those people that worked in corporate America but were cast out and became homeless or became alcoholics, drug addicts, we don't know. It's so many stories, it's countless stories. We're going to put some of these organizations out there and we're going to hold them accountable. I've been looking at a list of CEOs that came out and publicly stated that they support DEI initiatives. But when I talk to people in those organizations, we have yet to see the gains of that. So we're going to start putting these executives out here, and we need 1 million black women or 1 billion black women to stand on the front lines and to have them to be accountable to us, to that little young lady or that old lady that's in there but afraid to speak up. But day after day, they're pushed to the emotional brink. Underpaid, overworked, over-scrutinized, over-policed. Not today. So, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time. Have a great week.